You just felt something and you probably don't know why. Our goal in this video is to show how the ultimate persuader is built. Instead of levels, we're working with layers. You can use each layer on its own, but together they literally change what people do. So how does that work? If your approach to persuasion is pushing your agenda, which is what most people do, you've already failed. The fastest shortcut is always listening. You don't need 46 books on mind reading. People's behavior, word, and triggers already show you how to move them. If that means dropping your agenda, fine. A hobby, a problem, a frustration, whatever they bring up is what they want addressed. Take that seriously and they take you seriously. This is the foundation. You're no longer working against them. Be the one who does what we all forgot in a noisy world. Pay attention.
Pronouns she, her. I know that might give you trouble.
It doesn't. I can speak English.
Thank you. So...
That was just a quick, witty comeback, but Shapiro's full debates are where this really shows. He uses deductive reasoning and clarity to win arguments.
If you want to read the book and critique the book, why don't you read and critique the book? If you want to critique me, you can think whatever you want of.
Logic is the last foundational layer of persuasion. At this stage, people subconsciously ask themselves two questions. First, are you worth listening to? And second, do you even make sense? If the answer to either one is no, persuasion dies immediately. Confusion is the enemy of persuasion. If you're unclear, people can't follow you, and if they can't follow you, they won't trust you. This layer earns you the right to be heard. Logic signals two things instantly. Clarity, I can follow what you're saying, and competence, you kinda know what you're doing. A clean logical sequence makes your conclusion feel inevitable. You make so much sense that people naturally stop resisting. Great debaters cut through the fluff and get straight to the core of the argument. They isolate the point and move you through a clear structure. Simple, easy to follow. If people are confused, they simply disengage. Coherence decides whether you're even allowed to continue.
These are not three separate devices. This is one device. And we are calling it iPhone.
People can only process information if two things are true. First, they care enough to listen. That's why you just watched the Steve Jobs clip. Second, it's digestible. A story should focus on one clean idea expressed in simple language. Jobs avoided tech jargon, avoided flashiness. He used metaphors, examples, and visuals because human beings don't care about you or your product and services. They care about themselves. Jobs didn't sell chips or performance specs. He framed the product in a way that made people care. Something beautiful, something simple and elegant, something they could imagine themselves using. That's enough to earn attention. Storytelling works because it uses logic to create tension, a narrative gap, 1,000 songs in your pocket, mass versus simplicity, one contrast, one idea, instantly memorable. And then, don't explain, show. Jobs used demos to make the story real. The narrative set the frame, the visuals delivered the proof. A good story is structured, a clear beginning, a hook, a climax, and a resolution. That structure is what makes information digestible and persuasive. Do you remember our intro clip? It was from Google's Parisian Love campaign. Why did it click so well? Because it didn't give you more information, it made you connect with your own memories. At this level, persuasion stops adding context. The energy shifts inward, people stop evaluating and start feeling. Logic helps people understand, emotion is what commits them. Because it activates familiar moments and familiar feelings, directly tied to deeper needs and desires. You already know how to get people to listen, care, and understand you. They may even trust you. That alone puts you ahead of most people, but ultimate persuasion requires something stronger. People committed enough to take action. And humans are wired so that primal drivers override rational evaluation. Desire, fear, anticipation, and relief. Strong emotional contrasts create engagement. Loss versus gain. Fear versus relief. Safety versus desire. When dopamine, adrenaline, or even anxiety kick in, people feel involved because emotionally they are. This is why storytelling works. It creates scenes people project themselves into. Relatable experiences trigger emotion. Once you understand what someone truly cares about, what they desire, and what they fear, you can speak directly to it. The emotion you spark becomes the bond, and people remember the source of that feeling. You. That's the power of the emotional layer. You don't force meaning on a people. You create a setting and they fill it with whatever matters most to them. Just like Google did with the Parisian Love campaign, and like Apple does with emotionally loaded imagery in its commercials and keynotes. Copy what works at scale. At this point, the dynamics flip. In every layer before this, you were persuading people, using logic, story, and emotion to move them. In the authority layer, people are already halfway there before you say much. Authority changes the frame. Humans are wired to respond to it. It lowers resistance and increases receptiveness. That's why it works, almost regardless of what you say. The earlier layers rely on perception. Authority is built on proof. It grows from results, from consistently delivering on what you promise, and ideally, over-delivering. When this happens repeatedly, something compounds. Competence, trust, and emotional bonds stack on top of each other. People stop asking, should I listen to you? They start wanting access to you. From there, formal authority often follows. Recognition, reputation, and social proof accelerate the effect. Consistency over time removes doubt. And you quickly notice you're no longer trying to persuade. People are already leaning your way before you ask for anything. You might not even have to ask at all. They approach you. Ultimate persuasion begins the moment people trust your perspective more than their own hesitation. That's authority. Persuasion isn't one moment. It's not a line or a strategy. It's everything that happened before the decision.